Um, Good morning. But if you look at these green hills to the south here, that will be expansion space for phases 2 and 3 of the campus. We've raised about $1 billion, believe it or not, just to build this part of the campus and to invest in the faculty and so forth. The signature part of the educational program and the part that is really distinctive is that in addition to those engineering programs, we provide a 1 year MBA and a 1 year LLM in technology and entrepreneurship. So the LLM is a law degree for those of you who don't know. And what we do is we take the students, about 20% of their curriculum is focused on putting them together in teams, working in the fall semester on digital product design. We bring in outside companies, about 100 and maybe 120 companies now, to come in and work with the student teams to uh, learn about product design. And that includes a lot of social skills that they're not used to, because many of them are engineers, including going out and interviewing people all around New York City. In fact, they're required to interview a couple of people every week. And this gets them out of their shell. Maybe the hardest part, though, is getting them to work together in teams that cross these disciplinary boundaries. Trying to get business people to work with engineers is a giant challenge. There's disrespect coming in the door. By the time they leave, we hope that they've gained a working knowledge of how to at least work with each other, if not respect one another's disciplines. In the spring, the students form their own teams and go down one of three different challenge paths. One is to build companies, that's Startup Studio. And that program, together with a pretty innovative postdoctoral program, has spun off about close to 90 companies now in the short time that we've been operating here. So the students make a pitch at the end of the semester. In fact, it was just a week and a half ago that the students were out here making a pitch to a panel of venture capitalists, government folks, and so forth. And 5 teams were selected. They were given $100,000 and space in the building right next door to incubate, going for a year. The other 2 tracks that students can invest in, one is called Big Co Studio, and that's about doing innovation and entrepreneurship, or I hate these words, intrapreneurship, within the context of a big organization. So that's another pathway for the students. And that one's led by people from C-suites, essentially. So we're fortunate to have the vice president of product design at Google, who comes in and leads that. But we bring in other practitioners from around New York City to help engage with the students. The third track is their most recent track, and it's called Public Interest Tech. And it's focused around students that are interested in engaging and doing innovation in the context of nonprofits or public sector kinds of things, like government agencies. And there's a lot of partnership with the city of New York. In particular, there are research problems that emerge that we found really exciting to work on, including various data science challenges, but also new opportunities. A good example, and this really took off during the pandemic, was a partnership with the mayor's office to end domestic abuse. And it turns out that victims of domestic abuse are often stalked by their devices these days, whether it's their phones or their social media accounts and so forth. And so we worked with that city agency to develop a tech clinic to actually help the victims with their technology challenges in the realm of domestic abuse. And during the pandemic, it turned out there were all kinds of hidden assumptions that technology providers made. You know, your Find My iPhone is a great way to stalk a victim, but also for somebody who's been abused by somebody, the Zoom background might actually reveal where they are in the city and lead an attacker to them. And so little things like that weren't recognized by the social workers that were working with these poor victims, and the clinic was set up to help the victims work through these challenges. So that's an example of something that sort of grew out of the public interest tech track for our students, and one of the things that I'm most excited in promoting. There's a couple of other things more relevant to this conference. One is a big K-12 effort where we're working with teachers around New York City to try to infuse some computational thinking into the curriculum throughout K-12. And there's a school on the island itself, PSIS 217, that we work with pretty closely, but we also bring in teachers for teacher training here and have a lot of students working here. And then probably the other big impact of the campus is focusing around the diversity of the tech ecosystem, especially here in New York City. And one of our more successful programs is something called Breakthrough Tech. And this is a partnership with the City University of New York. They have 25 campuses, 250,000 students, many of them students of color, first gen students, and so forth. Most of them don't choose computer science or computational sort of tech backgrounds as a career path. So we worked with them to try to bolster the number of students majoring in computer science, and in particular, women and folks from other underrepresented groups. And the trick was really using our connections to industry to develop internships for these women and bring them in the door to get them that first job and their resume, along with some curricular innovations that you may find relatively interesting. So that was a partnership with CUNY that was successful enough that Melinda Gates's Pivotal Foundation rolled this out, gave us some funding to roll this out to other cities, including just recently Chicago, the DC area, and Miami. And just last summer, we introduced a new program called Breakthrough AI, focused on training women in particular around AI. We had a cohort of 40 women on the campus last summer. This summer, we'll have 100, and we're rolling that out with partners at UCLA and in Los Angeles and MIT and Boston. And the goal is to get to a couple of thousand students every summer, trying to bring more women into the hottest area of growth in computer science. So that gives you a sense of what the campus is and is all about. And I should say, more germane to this meeting and this conference, one of the things that Renee and others, Paul Krause and I talk about all the time is what is the role of online education? And the pandemic was a really interesting experiment for us. If anything, and I think most of you can appreciate this, I came to really appreciate how much the students value being in person and working with one another. And that many of the challenges that we face in the online arena are about creating the sense of community and the partnerships amongst the students themselves that are somehow missing in the traditional formats that we're doing in the online at scale kinds of cases. So I'm really interested to learn from you folks about what you find is effective. I think one of the places that Cornell Tech could have even bigger impact is opening up our courses, not just to the students that are on campus, but to New York City and the country at large. And how to do that, but do it effectively and retain the good qualities that you get from the in-person experience is a tremendous challenge. And I'm very curious to hear what you folks have to say about this. Anyway, welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I hope you enjoy the visit to Roosevelt Island, and please come back and visit us again.